I don't know why my first impulse was, I'm feeling this way. I should definitely try to read my entire physical TBR next year, because that's a good idea. Hi, I'm Ann, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm just going to share some ideas I have about Booktube and my channel in particular, as well as a big challenge I'm taking on for myself next year. So before I get to my reading plans for next year, I wanted to briefly state if some of you, a lot of you, are also booktubers that I commented on recently. You might have noticed that I am less frequently commenting on booktuber videos. And part of that is I don't comment on as many booktube videos if they get like a lot bigger. For example, I'm still watching Michael K. Vaughan. He's one of my favorite booktube channels, but I'm not necessarily commenting on many of his videos anymore because he has so many subscribers now and so many other people commenting that I don't think I could add anything important to the discussion. So I've stopped commenting as much on Booktube in general, and this will not impact my audience as much as the audience that is the small percentage of my audience that is made up of other booktubers. And I'm still trying to like comment on every few of your videos, and I'm still trying to like watch as many videos as possible, but I found myself getting very, very busy, and with me not even being able to focus as much on my own booktube channel, it makes sense that I'm not able to focus on watching other booktube channels as well. In fact, AJ Dunn from AJ Dunn Reads and Writes was recently talking about this on their channel, and AJ was basically saying exactly what I'm saying, that, you know, it's very overwhelming to try to have a very busy life, whether it is social, your job, booktube, reading books, and also being able to like be very active on the booktube community, like watching other people's videos and commenting on them. And I'm still going to try to do that as much as possible, but if you guys have noticed that I'm not doing that as much, that is why I've just been so busy with everything. But the bigger challenge, the reason I'm actually making this video, isn't necessarily to talk about me being busy, because I've talked about that enough in recent videos, but more so about talking about my plans for the future, which are probably not smart plans considering I just spent the first, 3 minutes of the video complaining about how busy I am. But it is, I want to completely eliminate, get rid of my physical TBR by the end of 2023. I don't know what I'm thinking. So in previous years, I've tried different things to get my physical TBR down to, a more reasonable level. So for example, last year I did where I had to read at least 2 books for my physical TBR, and I also said I could not buy any books. I was trying not to buy any books. Now I did wane on that at the end of the year, because when I started to actually work in a bookstore, I found myself that I just couldn't not buy at least, some books, and so I limited myself to 1 book a month, which seemed to work out pretty well. And I didn't also count the books that I got from people as like gifts, and there were a couple times where like my mother or my husband would buy me a couple books, and that would be added to the physical TBR. But with that, I realized that I didn't get as many books done as I wanted to. A part of my mind was hoping that I would get about halfway through my physical TBR, something like that, and I've definitely narrowed down my physical TBR. I read a lot of more books that I own physically than I have in previous years. However, I am finding myself having this sense of anxiety when it comes to having so many unread books. There is no shame to people who like buying a lot of books and don't necessarily read those books, because I know a lot of people on Booktube have mentioned this. There's a big difference between reading books and collecting books. They're 2 very different hobbies, and they don't necessarily have to go together. You can say, I want to curate this very beautiful, aesthetically pleasing library, and maybe you've only read like half the books on your shelves or less. That is totally fine. But for me, I found that I've gotten a little anxious with having so many books on my physical TBR, and I was hoping to get down my physical books to fit on a 3-tier cart, and that definitely did not happen. As you can see, the books behind me are all the books that are part of my physical TBR. And I even wrote out a list, and this is as of October. I typed this up at the very end of October, and there are currently 137 books on the list. So here we come to my big challenge for 2023, and I'm starting this kind of at the end of 2022, even though in November I'm still kind of working on NaNoWriMo, and I know December will be very busy because of the holidays, so I'm not as actively pursuing this challenge at the end of 2022. However, I will be more actively pursuing it in January of 2023, and I'm trying to at least try to start it right now. So I would like to get rid of all the books on my physical TBR. I have read them all by the end of next year, which means if I currently have 137 books on my physical TBR, that really only means I have to read about 11 books a month, 11.4 books, I think, so 11 and a half books, which is not bad at all. If you think about, like, I on average, now that I'm busy, I definitely lessened my reading to maybe 10 books a month, but I used to read 15 to 20 books a month. You know, and if you hear little weird sounds, it's because this little guy has decided that he wants to make weird sounds on my lap, so don't mind him. If you think about 11 books a month, it's not actually that much to read. However, where the challenge comes in is actually, yes, some of these books, good example, the later Middle Ages I'm currently reading. You know, this is like a 200-some page book. It's not very small font. You got it being a relatively easy read. That is something that wouldn't take me that long. However, and I'm not going to pull it out, I have a complete works of Shakespeare, which technically counts as one book, and that would be a lot harder to read all of in, like, you know, even a few days. So yes, maybe I might have to take an entire month on one book, say like Shakespeare, where I just read Shakespeare plays all month. But then that means another month I may have to read 20 books. So that's where a little bit of the tricky challenge comes in. The other tricky challenge I'm making for myself is I am not going to say I can't buy any books. I can buy as many books as I want. However, I need to read those books within a month of getting them. And I'm kind of loose on this rule because, for example, if I get a book at the end of February, I don't want to, like, say, oh, I have to read it by the beginning of January. So that's why I say a month loosely, as in kind of a month. So I'll probably say if I get a few books at the beginning of March, I need to read them by the end of March. But if I get a book at the end of February, I also need to finish that by the end of March, as opposed to the end of February and I have like 2 days to read it, because that's not really a realistic goal. So that also means that if I want to buy any books, if I want to buy like 20 books in 1 month, that means I need to read those 20 books in a month, above which I also need to read those like 11.4 books that I also need to read from my physical TBR, which would definitely dissuade me from buying many books per month, because yeah, if I buy 1 book a month, that's only 1 extra book. But if I buy like, say, 20 books, that is a lot more. So this is a pretty big challenge, and it's something I'm probably going to focus a lot on my channel. I'm going to go on this journey, and I'm hoping that I succeed. And even if I don't succeed, I feel like if I get the books that I have on my physical TBR down to, say, under 10 books, I feel like that is a success. Because right now, like I said, I have 137 and it is feeling a little bit overwhelming. It also means that, because I have a feeling some of these books I won't want to keep after I read them. So I want to curtail the library I own and only have books that I really love and I feel like I would want to reread again. So in the next video I will be making, hopefully in the next couple days, I will be going through all the books that are on my physical TBR, which will be a lot of work, but hopefully I can, get the video down to a pretty good amount. So I'm curious, have you ever tried to do a challenge like this? What do you think about having a physical TBR? Do you not really worry about buying extra books, even if you can't necessarily read them in a short time? Do you not worry about, keeping your physical TBR down, or do you just miraculously not have a physical TBR because you're able to read everything that you buy when you buy it because you my friend, are a rare creature. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm really excited to go on this journey with you guys of this horrible challenge of me trying to read all my books from my physical TBR. I will see you all in the next video I post. Have a great day. Bye.